Let's take a look at how we can use the GPS tracking report to find information about where our people are at. So in the reports list, I go and I can do a search on GPS. It narrows me down to GPS vicinity report and GPS tracking report. We're going to take a look at the tracking report. So this opens up and you have a date range. So it'll do from whatever day you've got set for the past here through today. So you can set it to go for the past week, the past month, or just today. But you just set it for your calendar what day you want to go to start from, what hours you want to look at, because you may not want to be looking 24 hours a day. You might want to be looking through the work hours, maybe 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. Now notice it is military time here, 1700 hours. Military time, if you don't know, it's a 24-hour clock. And kind of the easiest way that I think of is once you get to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, instead of it being 1 o'clock, it is then 1300. So what I always kind of do is it's kind of a cheat in my head that if I want to know till 5 o'clock, I think, okay, 5, and I always add 2 hours and realize I got to put a 1 ahead of it. So, yeah, you're adding 12 hours, but you're just going, okay, 5 o'clock. So that means 7, so 17. So you make this 1700. You could make it 1730 or 1715 or whatever, but I've just got it set here. Now, this is where it gets kind of fun and interesting, is that you can put in notes from your GPS, from handhelds in the GPS tracking history. You've got all your timed syncs, and you probably don't need to see all of those on this. You're usually trying to narrow down for something. One of the common things to narrow down would be is if your guys were further away than they should have been starting a customer. So keyword in that is miles. You can type miles or miles away, but I'm just going to type miles and say print preview. And this will bring up all the instances where they were not near the customer they were supposed to be at. Now, this is a bunch of sample data. As you can see in here, 15 miles away, 1,600 miles away. Those aren't all realistic. But I can very quickly see what days they clocked in and different things. I can even click the Map It button, pull up the map of where they were. And the question mark ones are the logo to say, I don't know what they were doing here, but they weren't where the customer was supposed to be. So this can help narrow down, and then you can go back over to the handheld itself and compare these. Look at these specific dates and see where they were supposed to be. You can see 10 miles away, and then take a look at those specific days, and they'll have the question marks and everything on it there as well to see if that is reasonable that they should have been there. So here's an instance that would be a reasonable thing, that we would have done the work at another place. On this map here, you can see the question mark is up here, but the invoice was made down here. And so this is one that I saw on the map, or on the list, but on the map. And as I look at this and go through and look at invoice and details, I can see it's one that I finished back at the office, and this is a legitimate one that was not completed at the customers, and I can see that this is legitimate. But you could definitely find ones that it may not be, and that can help identify areas of fraud where they may be going and saying they're selling stuff at places that they're not at, or doing things like doing a visit-only service call, and they do several of them all sitting from the local coffee shop. So this report helps to identify things like that, and just try and make your office more aware of what's going on in the field, because it can be hard to tell what your guys are up to out in the field if you don't have this type of information. But again, this report can be filtered or not filtered if you take this out and not filter anything. But if you wanted to filter on where the end of day has been every day, or looking to see the starting FS tracker, or any of the values that are in those notes fields on the GPS, handheld GPS notes field, you can filter on any of those. So you can see where they're starting FS tracker, which means Each time that they've started the program for some reason, if you think they're starting something over and over and over, you can see where they're doing that, or look to see where the end of day has occurred, or you can search on any value within the note fields. So however you want to use that, this gives a lot of flexibility to find out all kinds of different things about what's going on in the field and have a better understanding of what your reps are doing, identify potential problem areas, and help resolve them quicker.